Yo, 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 this is your boy Kendall Jones, and this is the Jesus Boy Podcast, where we have heaven to earth discussions surrounding the faith and the world. I believe here at the Jesus Boy Podcast that we are called to see earth through heaven's perspective. And the only way we can do that is by seeing life through the point of view of Jesus. And so today, y'all are in for a good episode because I got my good brother with me, Tashawn Brown. Y'all already know what it is. You know what I'm saying? Y'all already know what it is. I'm excited. Listen, listen, listen. Most people, especially like I said in my last couple episodes, right? Normally when I'm like in the neighborhood trying to get some fresh air, spending my time with God, usually I put one of my daughters in the carriage and I just walk around the block. This particular day, once again, I'm walking around and I'm thinking about different episodes. I'm thinking about different topics. What should I touch on? And Tashawn comes to my mind, and God reveals to me, boom, talk, bring him on and talk about this. And so I immediately hit my brother up, like, yo, perfect idea. This is what we're gonna talk about. Boom. He immediately tells me, this is what I'm dealing with right now in this season of my life. So it just perfect timing, perfect opportunity. We here today. And so the topic of this episode is called Healing Young Husbands, Young Fathers. And so without further ado,
Mhm.
I'm going to introduce my brother Tashawn Brown. Some of y'all in Springfield, y'all know who he is already. Y'all very familiar with him. He's very talented. He's musical. But most importantly, he's a man of God. He's a man of God. Most importantly, you know what I'm saying? And so welcome to the stage, my bro. I'm grateful that you're on with me today.
Thank you.
Give
Yeah.
some words to the audience.
So I'm glad to be here, man. Thank you for having me on.
No doubt.
Of course, first and foremost, we just thank God for the opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Um, so like you were saying, my name is Tashawn. I am a young husband and father. Um, married for three, father for two, and counting. Um, yeah, man. It's been a interesting story, right? You know what I'm saying? Growing up in church but not really being saved is an interesting story. So, yeah.
He said he grew up in church but wasn't saved. That's deep.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think I missed more than two Sundays back to back, and that was just because of COVID. So, yeah, man. Church all my life, bro.
Wow. Wow, man. Wow. So like what was the turn of events for you that brought you to where you are now with the Lord? Like, cause like you said, you grew up in church but you wasn't saved. So
Yeah.
what was that turning point where you're like, you know, I'm done with this. I'm going to fully surrender and begin to live for him.
Yeah. Like I said, I always had like a foundation of moral views that related to Christian in a just a really general way. Like even like my worldly views didn't differ too far from the faith.
Hmm.
So even though I wasn't saved, I was very knowledgeable and I was very aware of God throughout,
Hmm.
my life. So I think that what the enemy did was kind of use me to be like, hey, everybody can't be saved. You know what I'm saying? Like
Wow.
I got I'm a household full of Christians, and for a while I'm just like, I guess I'm the problem child. I guess I'm
Wow.
the bad guy, and it wasn't like I was like out here shooting, robbing, stealing, and nothing like that. I was just out here having fun, drinking, smoking, sexual things, doing all of that, and just what a young guy does. And I think around let's say like 2016, so around the age of 24, 25, um, the people around me started to change a little bit, like some of my friends and
Mm,
stuff like that.
mm,
Nothing major, but it was like a slow transition.
mm,
And I started to see people in a different light, outside from the people that I see every Sunday or my family. These are
mm.
like friends, people that I encountered, um, even like in the world. So I think that kind of like sparked something for me that hey, you can um, I don't want to say be different and be saved, but your salvation doesn't have to look like everybody else's, you know.
Right, right,
Um,
right.
so because I'm one that's big on community and big on fellowship with people. And as I got older, I started to see that less and less in the church, and I think it kind of turned me off a little bit.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
started to realize that you can fellowship with people anywhere and still be the light. So around that time, it started to change a little bit. I mean, I had a couple incidents, a couple hospital visits, a couple run-ins with people, and I was just like, yeah, I think the Lord's trying to get my attention. So um, I think it was a place of just feeling like I was stuck, you
Mm,
know. I was stuck
mm,
and I was looking for someone to help me,
mm.
to help pull me out of that place. So like I knew who God was. I was aware of him, but I was looking for somewhat of a mentorship type of situation or a brotherhood, things of that
Yeah.
sort. So I always had my brother with me, Tyreek, who was always the one to kind of like put me in my place. He was like, hey, what I'm saying, you can't be doing this and the third, you know what I'm saying? And then I also had Aaron, but my brother had left the church and that we were attending at the time. He had left for mentorship himself. And I remember coming in every Sunday just feeling like, man, like
Mm,
yo, I'm 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 all set. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't feel like anybody was really caring about my soul, but they were just
mm.
really concerned about the gift that I had to play music.
Right,
Um,
right.
so I attended a church service through an invite of my now wife, who told me to come out and it was Prophet Nate, and he spoke to me, and he said the reason why you're so frustrated is because you won't move. And I knew exactly what he
Mm,
was talking about as soon as he said that. I didn't want to seem like a follower when my brother left because his intention was to come back,
mm.
but the way that we were mistreated, um, I kind of wanted to go find that mentorship as well for myself.
Yeah,
But I didn't
yeah.
want to make it seem like I was following him and his
Him.
movement. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So once the word was released, I sent that text like, "Hey, I won't be there next Sunday or any Sunday after that. I'll be
Mm,
transitioning to another church." So that kind of happened. As you know, Pastor Ryan is the head of that church. We started talking a lot. Just engaging in multiple conversations, various topics, and he was willing to have those conversations with me.
mm,
We kind of formed a brotherhood. I saw people my age or around my age that was like Holy Ghost filled, you know
mm.
what I'm saying? Like dying to be like Christ daily. And
Yeah.
it was like at that point where everything started to shift for me.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's amazing, like, cause you being a musician, and I see like this common thread among musicians who feel like they're serving at places of worship, and the relationship that they have with the church is just solely based on their gift.
Hmm.
It's not really based on their relationship with God. And it's
Right.
like, it's such an unfortunate thing because like I think and it's a true reality, like the musicians some musicians are not being really discipled
Yeah.
um into who God wants them to be, who Christ desires them to, what Christ desires them to really resemble. And so they end up feeling used, or I hate to say it like this, but it's the truth. Like they almost feel like they're being pimped.
Yeah.
Sunday by Sunday, they just, they
Yeah.
just there to just play the music, but then they leave out, and nobody's really ministering to their soul. So the reality that you was finally able to get the mentorship that you
Yeah.
needed, such a blessing, man. Because like you kind of see that a lot. And then the musicians, they get criticized a lot, but they're not being discipled.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, wow. But I'm so grateful that you did make that transition when you got the
Uh-huh.
word. Because look at you now, man. Look at you now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and for those who don't know, Tashawn, he just put on a glory conference not too long ago that was
Uh-huh.
powerful, man. A 3-day conference in Springfield. So it was powerful. Even though I was only able to attend one night, the night that I was there, it was powerful. People got ministry. God definitely was in the midst. And I don't know if you remember, man, but I remember giving you the word of the Lord some time ago that you was gonna do something in the city. This was a
Yeah.
while ago,
Yeah.
and I remember I
Yeah.
remember th I remember thinking about that. Like I was like, it came back to my mind, man. Cause sometimes, man, I just give somebody the word of the Lord and I forget. But recently, man, I was like,
Yeah.
no,
You
I
told
remember
me
the Lord told me this. I remember the Lord told me He was gonna do something in the city. Um,
told me I was here for a reason, man. Told me not to leave. I'm here for a reason.
yeah, you here for a reason, man. You know what I mean? Make an impact in the city. So the topic for tonight is healing, healing young fathers, young husbands, or vice versa, however you want to put it. Um, I thought that you would be a perfect candidate for this topic because, similar to myself, I know that me and you have had similar struggles growing up.
Uh-huh.
Um, and we both had to overcome a lot of different adversities. And I wanted to hear your perspective on your healing journey.
Yeah.
Um, so would you touch on that a little bit? Would you touch on some of the broken pieces that you had that you're still healing through or healing from?
Yeah.
Give us a kind of an insight on that, and then we're gonna just keep
So
adding to that.
yeah, so healing um is something that I've never like really looked for
Hmm.
in myself. Um I like I said, this is my third year in marriage. My daughter's two, so everything is still young for me. And prior to getting married, I didn't know those broken areas within me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, outside of like we talked about this a while ago, outside of the musician relationship with the church or stuff like that, I didn't know anything else that was really broken within me. Um, like me and my dad grew up rough, but that's something that I saw as a common thing.
Mm.
Father son. Once the son starts to go into developing his manhood type of situation, there's a lot of conflict,
Hmm.
and between them and the father, that was normal for me. Um, then that like God had to check that when my daughter was born, and I had to go and like talk to pops like, hey, the way that our relationship has kind of gone into, I didn't really like it, and I was kind of like I don't want that for me and my daughter and my future
Hmm.
kids. So I had
Hmm.
to mend that, those broken areas. Even like the dynamic between my mother and my father, and how to love, stuff like that, like triggered responses from me in my own marriage, with me and my wife. And then, like recently, as I was saying, like a lot of times we ask for things. I'll be honest, I'll be vulnerable. So, yeah, I just like that feeling of feeling stuck again, you know.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So you want, as a husband and a father, you want to
Yeah.
see your family at a certain way, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't want to see them struggling. Like you want to be able to provide and give them everything that they need and want. But before you can even get there, you got to build the foundation. And if that
Yeah.
foundation is broken, any block that you put down is gonna just fall right through.
Yeah.
So I was like, God, I need you to reveal some things to me. Yeah. Like it all hit at like one time.
Eh, that just come. Oh my God.
Yeah, it all hit at like one time, and
Mm.
like I started to. So prior to marriage, I think that my struggle would be lust, right? And I thought that marriage would fix that, and I was completely wrong about that.
Yeah.
Um, you still have to do the work.
Yeah.
However, marriage exposes everything that you're doing work on, right? Everything that you need to deal with. So, um, that was the first major thing that kind of like it came into view. Um, Secondly, I was kind of like masking all of my trauma.
Mm.
Um, my heart was heavy, but I'd walk into every room smiling and joking and laughing with everybody,
Right.
and
Right.
nobody would know. Not even myself. Like I don't like
Mm.
God. Why do I feel this way? You know,
Yeah.
and I'm not a person that's easily offended, so I'm used to like brushing things off. But some things were said one time about my skill as a
Mm.
musician,
Mm.
and it brought me back to a place of when I was younger,
Mm.
and I was like thinking about my journey from then to now, some of the
Mm.
common things in my life. So, um, a little backstory: when I was a kid, I was like on top of the world when it came to music because nobody else my age was playing music like I was playing music.
Mm. Mm.
Um, but I didn't really have nobody there to develop me in that sense, right?
Mm.
So we talk about mentorship again. I didn't
Yeah.
really have nobody there to help me develop that. Um, as time went on, there was a lot of moving pieces in and out. There was nothing that was consistent. Even
Mm.
the church that I went to, like the church split up, all the musicians split up. Um, and it just like, I never really had that mentorship that I would have needed in a sense,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So we get older into the worldly view. I'm still into music, but all the local artists and stuff like that, I'm hanging out with them. They're all making music. I'm kind of like in the background,
Mm.
you know, and I'm just supporting them, and doing those type of things. And I started to realize that when the tables turned, the same energy wasn't, reciprocated on my end.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then there's just like a lot of disappointment, and I guess something you could say is loneliness. Like I think people don't talk about it. Like when you get married and you become a father, there's like a season of loneliness because you're not out and active like you used to be,
Mm.
right? And I thought that that's what it was, and I realized I'd send a text to people when they get a response. You know, um, we did the conference, put the conference together, and you see nobody's face, and not that like I was really expecting them to, but it would have felt good. You know what I mean? To
Yeah.
have that type
Yeah.
of support. So like God started like showing me these things, man, and I'm just like I didn't even know like I was carrying all of that.
Mm.
That's I started playing the drums at 7 years old. I am 30 now.
Mm.
Like, you know what I mean? I didn't know that I was carrying all of that for 23 years. And this is outside of like, your everyday living,
Yeah.
you're drinking, you're partying, you're smoking, your interactions with people. This is outside of that.
Mm.
Um, And so, like, I started to dwell in a place of feeling like I'm just not enough.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah. Started to dwell in a place like I'm just not enough, and I also projected that in my husbandship and in my fatherhood.
yeah,
Um, so that's when I was like, God, like I know we're going through this process of healing and you're revealing these things to me, but I need you to like, do a work in me and do it fast.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah. So that was kind of like what got me there.
It's like amazing because like for me, similar to you, um, but just to give you kind of a background, not just my child, but even closer in years, like with ministry. But a lot of people don't know, which I have come out and said, publicly at my church, is that when God was calling me to be a minister or prophet and everything like that, for a long time, I ran from it.
Uh-huh.
And I ran from it because I was afraid. I was afraid because I thought I was gonna mess it up.
Uh-huh.
So when people come to me and say, "You're a prophet, you're this and that," they was only confirming what God was showing me privately. But I would reject the title because I was afraid. Because I literally thought I was gonna mess it up. Because
Uh-huh.
I still saw how broken I was and how much I needed Jesus to help me. And I was like, God, I'm gonna mess this up. Like, you know what I'm saying? So subconsciously I was like, I would run away from it.
Uh-huh.
Literally. Like I really
Yeah.
would like stop calling me that. Like I'm not that. You know what I'm saying? And it took God, bro. It took God to like come to me in a dream. And like his presence was so strong. He had me sign a contract in a dream that I was gonna surrender to the
Yeah.
call. Um, and I remember waking up in tears, and that's how I surrendered to the call. But out of fear, my concern was, God, I don't want to mess it up, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember him leading me to the scripture with the leper, when Jesus healed the leper,
Uh-huh.
and he told the leper, he said, go show yourself to the priest. And as the leper went to the priest, the Bible says that he began to be healed. And
Yeah.
the Lord told me through that scripture, he said, I'm going to heal you as you go.
Yeah.
That's when I
Yeah.
realized the difference between healing and miracles,
Uh-huh.
right? It's like healing is that process that you have to go through of a constant surrendering to him, because there's some things he can heal instantly, but then there's layers of trauma that he has to heal layer by layer.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, that it's not overnight, because I'm by nature, human nature,
Yeah.
and I could be very honest. I can be a very impatient person, because if I see something I don't like, I want him to deal with it right then and there.
Is
I
that
want
like a
him to.
manly trait, man?
I think so, bro. I really think so. I really think so. Like I want him to deal with it right then and there.
Yeah.
But what I've learned, that he don't do that for everything. It's like there's
Nah.
some things that it's like layers, man. Like once he deals with this layer, he begins to now expose another layer. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And so, like similar to you, when I got married to Rose, like I didn't see. a functional relationship growing up. So my view of a relationship was already rooted in
Yeah.
dysfunction. Like like
Mm-hmm.
like you said earlier, you know what I'm saying? So I still had so many fears about that. You know what I mean? I had so many
Yeah.
fears about that in my subconscious because I'm like, I always tell people like, I never seen my grandparents hug. I never seen them show any type of affection toward each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And then my mom, I was separated from my mom and my dad had custody of me and their relationship was dysfunctional. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then with my mother, she got married and their relationship wasn't perfect. So I had all these examples of dysfunction.
Dysfunction. Mm-hmm.
So I had a lot of subconscious things in my mind on top of me knowing the broken pieces that I still had within myself.
Yeah.
Like I'm saved, but my soul still need to be healed by
Yeah.
some stuff. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's for
So
sure.
it's like it's layers to this thing, man. And the beauty of it is that like the Lord He's so willing to work with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like He's so gracious, He's so kind to like be willing to work with you. And then when you add, when we've had our first child, Ari, that added on to it.
You ain't speaking nothing but the truth,
You know what I mean? Like
man.
that added on to the conversation because I'm like, now I remember being like so fearful because I know how it was for me growing up, you know. So the image of like some certain images I didn't want to show to my daughter, similar things that I was shown.
Hmm.
And I was afraid, man. I was like, Lord, I really need you to help me.
Yeah.
And I remember when we lived in Florida, I remember her picture being on the refrigerator, and I would look at her picture and like pray over it, like God, I really need you to help me because I don't want her to see I don't want her to see the images that I saw. I don't want her to see impatience. I don't want her to see, overly aggressive behavior. I don't want her to see all the negative things that I saw that scarred my subconscious.
Uh-huh.
And the blessing was that, during that time, me and Rose, we started going to therapy, and our therapist began to help us through a lot of stuff. Shout out to Kevin, my therapist Kevin, man, from Florida. He's been a tremendous blessing to us. So
Yeah.
like everything you saying is like, bro, like, yeah, and it's like, I wrote something down. It's like we really are healing from the broken images, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like we're healing from those broken images, man. That soul healing, um, to like break those generational curses and everything like that. Um, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny. It's funny you just brought that up, the generational curses, because I was gonna go there when we talk about like the husbandship and the fatherhood. I was thinking about it like, yo, how are we gonna take this topic and apply it to the Bible? Right? And
Hmm.
I'm just like, yo, I think the reason why there's so much weight that be on us as fathers and husbands, not even just young fathers and husbands, but fathers and husbands in general, is because we know, like, we set the standard for generations to come. Like,
Mm.
if you look at the Bible, you see, like, firstborn gets the birthright and stuff like that. Or, if, you know, one man's sin, then generations is cursed. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yo,
My
like
God.
what am I gonna leave behind for generations to come?
Yeah.
And I was like thinking about that because like you were saying, even your own home and stuff like that, like this is essentially you move out, this becomes your kingdom, right?
Yeah.
Um and when you talked about like you and Rose and your firstborn and how you didn't want certain things for her, like I can even remember when Princess was pregnant, bro, we get into arguments. And now I would see like Amai's tempers, and I'm just like, yo, I don't even know if that's like because of our arguments. I don't know if like that's because of like my
Right.
temper when I was younger, or Princess'
Right.
temper when she was young. Like, you know what I mean? And start all these gears start going, and I'm just like, yo, this is kind of like I want to help her break out of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you have this constant thing where you're trying to constantly elevate everything around you, elevate your child, elevate your marriage, elevate yourself, elevate your wife. You know what I'm saying? Like the way you guys are living, every system that you guys set in place, spiritually, physically, emotionally, like, just make sure that everybody's good everywhere. And you leave out that part that, we're humans and we're flawed and it takes time. Everything takes time. And like we were talking about impatience, bro,
Yeah.
I'm like, I can say,
Oh
people will say that
man.
I'm patient because I don't respond. But in my mind, I've cussed you out 10 times already. Like, for the
Oh
sake of for the
man.
sake of the physical peace in the home, I haven't
Mm-hmm.
said anything. Or for
Yeah.
the sake of the physical piece of the job, I haven't said anything. But mentally and emotionally, there's tension because I'm impatient, right?
Yeah.
Because I need this done now, and that's part of the process, man. And I just feel like a part of the impatience is trying to reach that goal, and I think that well, God is intentional with everything. So as you talked about healing versus miracles, right? If God did a miracle for everything that we needed, our character doesn't change, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we don't change because God just provides
Yeah.
everything instantly. We
Mm-hmm.
don't we don't grow in those moments. Like there's no stretching, no nothing, right? We
Yeah.
just be like, hey God, yo, I need another favor, and
Yeah.
therefore our relationship becomes transactional, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and when you think about um scripture where it tells you to love your wife as Christ loves the church, man, if everything would change immediately, that love would not be Christ like, bro.
Wow. Right.
That
Right.
love would not be Christ like because Christ is
Right.
dealing with me in my mess, right?
Yeah.
And so I know God is like, yo, listen, and I need you to turn that around right now. And I'm just like, oh God, give me like a couple of weeks. I got you. A couple of days. I'll be all right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? God's like, hey, pay your tithes. I'm just like,
Yeah.
next check. You know what I mean? Hey, next check. I need
I
this
feel
one.
that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So even when living my life in the world, you know how many times I done had a gun pointed at me 3 or 4 times, and then shot at once. Had to go to the hospital after smoking some weed. You know what I'm saying? Been crazy drunk, like like, and
Right.
I
Right. It got
in those
real.
moments, you know that there's a pull. Like God
Mhm.
is like pulling, like, yo, I need you to come back. And you're just like, God, I'm not ready yet,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, what if God was impatient? Like,
Mm.
all right, I'll just
Yeah.
find
Just
somebody
saying.
else.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Then I don't get
Yeah.
the opportunity to go and to develop into the man that I was called to be.
Right. Right. Right.
So when we put it like that, it's the same thing as we talked about the healing, the layers, the work,
Yeah.
right? The
Yeah.
patience, the
Yeah.
loving your wife, loving your
Yeah.
children. Those
Yeah.
the mistakes will happen, the
Yeah.
flaws will happen, um, things will happen. But
Yeah.
however, you know, step by step, we begin to
Yeah.
grow and to develop into this beautiful thing that God has designed for us to experience, called
Yeah.
marriage, right? Called,
Yeah.
fatherhood. Um, and even with, ministry, home is a ministry, bro. So take
That's the
care of it.
first ministry.
Yeah.
First ministry right there. besides,
Yeah, man.
us ministering to God, you know what I'm saying? Like, keep him first, but the home,
Yeah.
make sure home base is straight. Um, it's a lot of responsibility. But I wanted to touch on like the going back to like the emphasis on healing, because like
Uh-huh.
I think that one of the things that I really appreciate about Jesus so much is that whether you get it right or you get it wrong, his invitation to you is still come.
Uh-huh.
Like keep coming. Like
Uh-huh.
I know you messed up. Get up. Keep coming. And I learned that even with the coming as a husband, right? The coming as a father back to him. That's the thing that changes me
Yeah.
in the process. It's like when the Bible says like a just man falleth 7 times, but he gets back up again. The getting
Uh-huh.
back up again is the thing by which he uses to change you.
Yeah.
Like keep coming. Don't don't give up. You know what I'm saying? And I had to really learn that because there was some things I had to deconstruct even with the some religious thinking, of condemnation and everything like that.
Uh-huh.
Because you kind of think, okay, you start to view God in the perspective of man, like, oh, he's done with me, or I done messed up so many times, but he
About to
don't
cut
see
you
it
off,
like
right?
that. Yeah, he don't see it like that. He's like, yo, keep coming, cause I already knew you was gonna mess up. Why? Because you was trusting in yourself too much.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? And like a lot of men, sometimes we like Peter, man. Like, say, Lord, I you know what I mean? I die for you. And then
Uh-huh.
Jesus look at us and be like, before the cock crows 3 times, you're gonna deny me 3 times, right? But like, even though Peter denied Jesus, he still knew Peter loved him,
Yeah.
and he knew that, like, I'm gonna redeem Peter, because what Peter failed to understand was that he was trusting more in his own strength than
Uh-huh.
he was in God's strength.
Uh-huh.
And so what he thought was he knew himself better than Jesus. Now he eventually did die for Jesus, but at the time he said he would, he
Yeah.
didn't. You know what I mean? So I appreciated Jesus revealing to me, like, keep coming, be graceful.
Yeah.
Because it was from that place of grace that I was able to extend grace to my wife. I
Yeah.
was able to extend grace to other people while I was trying to heal.
Uh-huh.
Because the reality is, like for me, you know what I'm saying? Who, my God, like marriage will kill every ounce of pride in you. Every ounce you feel like you got,
The only
marriage
way it's
gonna
gonna
kill that
work.
thing. You gonna
Uh-huh.
have to die to that thing because that's the only way it's gonna work. You know what I mean? So you start to learn, when to be silent, when to speak, but you always gotta show grace.
Yeah.
You, and if anything, you gotta be the first person as the husband to extend forgiveness. You gotta be the first person because she ain't always coming back first. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, it's like your love for her is what sometimes softens her up to come back and apologize, unless the Lord steps in and convicts her. You know what I mean? And then she come back and repent. But early on, man, at first you probably gonna be fighting like cats and dogs, cause you
Mm. Mm.
you fighting
Yeah.
like cats and dogs, cause you trying to get adjusted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then with me too, I say this last piece, and I want to hear what you had to say. Like for me too, like I had my first daughter, and then when Rose was pregnant with my second one, um, that hit me in my soul in a different way because she came 3 weeks early. right? But when she came, I didn't want her to come like that
Uh-huh.
because we had just moved to Georgia, and we was in the process of getting our apartment. So it was a lot of stuff going on. I had just started this new job and everything like that, so everything was like kind of discombobulated. We were staying in a hotel. Rose is, about to give birth soon, within like like a month, so to
Yeah.
say, in our minds at the time. We in a hotel. She working her remote job out of the hotel, right?
Uh-huh.
Ari's 1 years old, running around. I'm going back and forth. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot going on. So when her water broke, it just felt like so much pressure because I was like, Lord, like I love my child. I just didn't want her to come like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it hit me different. Like I'm like, I don't want her to come like this. She came 3 weeks early, which
Uh-huh.
is, sovereignty of God. I can't change that. I
Yeah.
just think as a man, it was like I would have rather the situation been a little bit different, but
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? And so I think in my soul, I just felt so much pressure, and I felt like, dang, like we're not in a situation where I would have liked her to come the way she
Yeah.
came. Nevertheless, she's my blessing. You know what I mean? But at the time where my soul was at, um, I still felt like, you know what I'm saying? Like I felt like,
Yeah.
dang, like I felt like I couldn't really do much. I couldn't really help the situation. So that added another layer to what I was feeling, which reminded me of things in my childhood, even when, seeing my father struggle to try to take care of us at some point. You know what I mean? There was times when, just to give you context, there was times when we had it. Money
Uh-huh.
was flowing. My dad was working, money was flowing. Christmas times, hey, whatever y'all want, at Toys R Us, get anything y'all want. We got carts of stuff, right? But then there was times when the money dried up, and he didn't have money for us to be able to, you know, eat. So we had to script and scramble to get something, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
it wasn't his desire to be like that. It was just it got rough. So the way my mind took that situation in, it traumatized me. You know what I mean? Like I was like, for me to have to figure out what I'm gonna eat tonight, like that's like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's real, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? So that was one of the layers for me as well that God was working with me with. Like, yo, I'm not gonna fail you. But I had that reference of failure in my mind
Uh-huh.
that I had to, keep trusting him to break through in my own brain. Cause I'm like, I need to get the bag. You know what I'm saying? I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to figure out, cause I can't have my children not eat. I can't have my children not have the milk or the Pampers or the wipes. Like I need to make sure they got what they need. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So yeah, man, that was one of those things for me that God was like dealing with me about, breaking through those images of failure for me, breaking through
Yeah.
my mind, and you know, changing the narrative that was going on in my soul about myself, and about, sometimes you feel like, well, I know I feel like this, like I don't know what else to do. Like I have no choice but to trust you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you put me in a situation where I'm forced to build my faith in
Uh-huh.
you, Lord, because I don't know what else to do. And I know you didn't call me to worry and stress about stuff. So you got to come through as a good father. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and everything. So what was some of those moments for you, man? Like those heartbreaking, groundbreaking truths that like broke you through
Bro,
in your moments.
bro. Yeah, my my daughter was 2 months old when we had to leave our apartment and go back to my mom's house on the third floor.
Wow.
You know, um, and it wasn't like it was a financial issue. It was nothing like that, man. There was a lot going on at one time. Like I think even in our process of moving, me and Princess weren't even talking. Like we had
Wow.
people at the house moving our stuff, and we wanted to say a word to each other.
Wow.
Um, it was crazy. Like the the sequence of events that happened, bro. Uh, Princess had the baby at the end of June, so I worked the summer at a summer camp. Went back into the school that August, and I think by October we had lost our car. Moved out the apartment. She wasn't working. She didn't go back to work, so it was really just my income.
My God.
It's crazy. Like you talked about the sovereignty of God and how everything He does is intentional, but like at the moment, like I was like, yo, God, I don't know what you're doing. I look bad, man. Like I'm out here looking crazy, fam. Like,
Yo.
and it's like, breaking you down to build you up, but in the moment, it doesn't feel like that. Like
Like that.
I'm not looking forward to the build up. I'm like, God, like what else? Like what else you gonna strip from me? And like even because like prior to this whole thing, like you said, everything was flowing. We was doing good. Our rent was fine. Like we had two cars, and I sold my car to help somebody out because we was
Wow.
only really using one, and then
Uh,
we end up losing that car. You know
wow.
what I mean? The apartment that we were in was the apartment that Princess had before we got married. It was her and her grandmother. Her grandmother moved out so that I could move in. You know what I'm saying? Give us a space, and
Uh-huh.
we were losing that. And I'm just like,
Uh,
it wasn't like our finances didn't change. It was just because we were at a place with the owner where I was like, listen, if this is the situation with the owner, I don't think it's safe for my 2 month old to be here in this situation
right.
because at any split second, one of us could make the wrong decision and it's a wrap. Either I'm in
Yeah.
jail or something. You know what I mean? Like it was like that, like a
Wow.
provoking type of thing. And I wasn't comfortable with it. People being around the house and knocking on the door and stuff, and baby's home. I might be at work. I didn't want to chance all of that, so we went to the third floor of my mom's house. Um, One day I was at the studio space downtown. Me and Princess are arguing, by the way. So, you know, I took the car, went downtown. I'm there with a couple of the boys. I go outside, the car is gone.
Wow.
So I'm thinking like she got the spare key. She took my location. She took the car. You know what I mean? Like, cause we arguing right now. So I was ask my boss like, "Yo, can you bring me to the crib real quick?" Go to the crib. I
Wow.
don't see the car.
Wow.
So I'm thinking like she's not even in the house right now. She's
Mhm.
probably out. You know what I'm saying? Like she probably went over somebody's house, did something. You know how when you argue, you know how it is.
Mhm.
Open the door, she right there on the couch. And I was like, yo, um, did you have somebody take the car? Like, what's up? She's like, no. I was like, well, the car's gone. And she's like, oh, well, it must have got repoed or something because I wasn't able to pay the bill.
Wow.
But in the middle of all of us arguing, these things are taking place. There was no communication. Like, you
Mm.
know what I mean? Like, we didn't communicate to the point where it was like, yo, if I would have known, I could have covered it. We could have had the car because we were arguing, we were speaking to each other. These things now happen, right?
Yeah. Dang.
So, yeah, so that happens. We're on the third floor, and what was a 1 year plan maximum in our minds turned into basically two.
Mm.
Um, and you know. it was a roller coaster ride. Even to this apartment where we got here this apartment in April. Through a blessing, of course, like God doing His thing behind the scenes. We were preparing ourselves to start saving, and then somebody came up and was like, "Yo, I have a opportunity," and we took it. And took it. We got here in April, May, then in June, I wasn't working again. I'm like, yo, you
Oh
gotta be
man.
kidding me, man. So
Wow.
June, I'm not working. I'm trying like door dashing, but it's not enough. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like door dashing ain't enough. It's paying nothing. I get the landlord texting me like, "Hey, what we doing?" I'm like, "I don't know." Everything
Wow.
we try, they sending emails back like, "Hey, we need this and that," and blah blah blah. I'm like, "Yo, God, I don't know if we're gonna make it. I don't know if we're gonna make it." Like
Yeah.
even we in September, I've only been working for a couple weeks now, and Rat came up and I told her like, "Hey, listen, this is the situation," and she's like,
Uh-huh.
"Okay," and like a part of me was like ready to go back to mom's crib, bro. Go back to that third floor. I was like, "Damn, we going back to the third floor, man." And out of nowhere, the lady was like, "Well, we'll keep working and we'll give it till January. If you guys can, what I'm saying, be consistent from here to January, da da da, it'll be good." And I'm just like, "God, thank you," because
Yeah, thank you, Lord.
bro, I'm legit. Princess is out with the baby. I'm sitting on the couch like, how am I gonna tell Princess that we
Uh-huh.
gotta pack up everything and what I'm saying, go back to
Mm.
the crib? Like,
Wow.
you know what I mean? I was just like, I don't know, man. I don't know what you're doing, but and all that to say, like,
It be like
like
that. Oh my
it's
God.
it's just
Uh,
really trying, and it's really like what we call growing pains, right?
yeah.
And like healing is painful, bro, because you're letting go of the conditions, right? The way you've been conditioned, you're letting go of the things you've been taught, you're letting go of things that you've learned, you're letting go of like the traditional things, your whole mindset and understanding to allow God to do something, within you and within your life. And like we talk about God doing his complete and perfect work, but
Yeah.
we don't want to completely surrender or hand it over, right? So it's like, yeah, it's like
It's real.
the longer you fight him, you know what I mean? What do you expect to happen? That's like
Yeah.
going to the hospital and I'm like, yo, I got a scar, I got this wound from here to my wrist, but you can only stitch up right here, leave the rest
Yeah.
open. That don't make
Yeah.
no sense, right? But
Don't make
it's
no
like,
sense.
but I'm like, I'm here and I'm just like, God, I thought I was doing everything you wanted me to do, bro. I'm at church every Sunday. I'm at Bible study every Wednesday. I'm with the youth. I'm with the
Yeah.
men. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And God was like, yeah, but you haven't completely surrendered those things to me. You're still trying to do it all under your own control, bro. Like, and even on top of that, before I even get a check, mentally, I've already spent it. I already know where it's going. I already know where it's going
Ah.
mentally before that check even hit. I already know where it's going. And I'm just like, like I'm already trying to be 10 steps ahead of everything
Yeah.
that I haven't slowed down enough to relax and be like, yo, God, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Where do you
Yeah.
need me? Like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Those type of things. And that's what that moment was like. It was like a complete sit down. Like, sit down, shut up. There's nothing else for you to say. There's nothing else you can do, right? like, like it's completely out of your control at this point. Like you can't go nowhere. You can't do nothing, bro. For the time that I was out of work, I had a case that's pending, and everywhere that I applied to told me they couldn't accept me because of that pending case, bro. So even though I was fit for the job, they couldn't accept me because of that pending
Wow.
case. So I really had nowhere to go and nothing to do but to just sit there and just allow God to do what
Right.
He was doing. Nothing. And
God.
it did kill me, bro. It did kill me to be like, look at my account and see zeros and open the fridge
Yeah.
like, yo, need to figure something out. And then go DoorDash for 4 hours to come back with like $40. I'm like,
That-
God,
This
bro,
ain't it. This ain't
this
it, Lord.
ain't it at all, man.
This ain't it. Lord have mercy.
At all.
Mm. I remember that. I remember going through something similar like that when we was in Georgia, and I was, just trying to make ends meet. Rose similar to Princess wasn't, she wasn't working at the time. She was working on her book, but she also was home with my two, our two kids. So, um, I go to work from 8 to about 3-ish, or yeah, about 3-ish. Hop on the MARTA train, go, close to where we lived at, and just drive Uber and
Yeah.
trying to just, make it work from that. But
Uh-huh.
that wasn't enough because, what I mean, I could probably bring home a night probably about good $40, $50, $60, but you gotta think I just worked about 8 hours,
Yeah.
close to 8 hours. So I'm tired.
That's just the gas tank, bro.
You know what I mean? Then you gotta think about gas, you gotta think about all that stuff. So it was rough, man, trying to, be this young husband, like be this young father,
Yeah.
you know. And I now looking back at it now, being in the position I'm in now, I'm grateful for it
Yeah.
because it broke me. God had to use it to break me so he can make me. And so he broke down my dependence upon my own ability, but he built in me the ability to depend solely upon him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it it built my faith even the more. And even like before, like I just told you before we even started recording, like, I just got hired for another job.
Uh-huh.
And from June, just like you,
Yeah.
not working, you know. And even when just now, like when we get to September, I'm thinking that I'm gonna go back to work, and I come to find out, from my supervisor or whatever, that their contract with the school system is still pending.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, like, what's going on? Like,
Yeah.
like I can't sit
What's
around for
happening?
another few more months waiting for this contract to go through. Like, I need a job. You know what I mean? Um, we got bills to pay. You know what I'm saying? And so I use the time in the summer when I wasn't working. I used that time to really seek God. I
Yeah.
used that time to pray, uh, to really position myself spiritually. Not saying that I didn't go through challenges,
Uh-huh.
right? Not saying that those thoughts of failure didn't come back, right? Those thoughts of, fear of like, what am I going to do? But because I have a reference of so many different things that he did for me in the past, that it's a little bit more
It
easier now. You
gave
know
you
what
a
I
sense of
mean?
peace.
It's a little bit more easier now to know that he's already worked it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so to be in this position now, and, we still got to catch up on some things, but ultimately things are turning around.
Yeah.
And so he's willing to work with us, man, and build us up, in those
Yeah.
two areas. So, and like you said earlier, like being in this position as a young husband, young father, or even an older husband, older father, the position is so prominent and it's so important. Because what we do affect everybody.
Yeah.
Our presence, our absence, it affects the dynamic of everything, you
Uh-huh.
know. in spite of what the world is putting out there against men and all that different stuff, don't really understand how important our presence is right now. Um, especially and then when you add the black layer on top of it, that's
Yeah,
like the icing on the cake. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But before all that, we are men of God, so we are being built different,
Uh-huh.
uh, just solely off our faith alone. And so one of the things, man, and I'm gonna say this, and I want to hear your thoughts. One of the things that's crazy is that, and I remember talking to my pastor about this, and I said, Bishop, I really didn't understand what I was asking God when I said, I remember I prayed the prayer. I said, Lord, use my life to show people what real faith looks like. Bruh,
You set yourself up.
I prayed that, bro, so many times, and then when challenges started coming, I said, wow, I don't really think I really understood what I was asking for. Because now I'm like, yeah, this stuff is here.
Yeah.
And it's like you're forced to just have faith, you know? But nevertheless, man, God is good, man. Any
Uh-huh.
closing remarks, any closing thoughts you got?
No, man. I'd say we talked about, healing for young husbands, fathers. My closing remark would be to really ask God to search you
Mm,
as early as you can. Because one thing is that hurt and pain doesn't stop because we're human. So you will always face different tribulations, different, situations that will cause you pain. But your response doesn't have to be the same as it was in the past. So
that's
if you
good.
do the work, early on, um, it'll get easier to handle the situations, right? So like,
Yeah,
if I would have realized the things that I was dealing with, at 25 versus at 30, I could have started the work before, getting married.
mm,
I could have started the work before being a father.
yeah,
Not saying that I'm not gonna face any situation or circumstance, but I'll have a different level of understanding of who God is, right?
mm,
Of His sovereignty, right? And how He just reigns supreme over everything.
yeah,
And therefore, I bring that into my marriage. I bring that into my fatherhood, right? So I then create a atmosphere of peace, of godly peace in
yeah,
my home versus allowing the enemy to use it to kind of try to divide us and put a wedge between us, right? So I would say that, and then for those who already are husbands and who are already fathers, um, same thing, but do it with your partner, right?
mm,
Um, Therapy is a blessing. It's not something to be ashamed about.
yeah,
It's healing, bro.
yeah. My God,
It's
so good.
they have the knowledge for a reason. And we have people in our churches that have these positions. Find them, utilize them. God has given them that gift for a reason.
Mm,
Trust your processes. Trust God, and you realize that everything will work out for your good.
yeah,
Um, so yeah.
yeah, and it is so good that you said it. I second everything you just said. I think
Hmm.
it's so important to do the work. Um, and I'm totally in agreement. I think that once I got married and then I became a father, I kind of looked back and I was like, dang, I should have been with the therapy.
Hmm.
I should have been working on some things because I would have been probably better prepared um, going into it.
Hmm.
And so I would encourage all the single brothers who are looking forward to getting married to go to therapy now. I tell
Yeah.
people now, like, bruh, you better go to therapy because it's more about becoming aware of yourself. Like
Hmm.
honestly, like it's less about your wife and her issues. It's more about learning your issues
Mhm.
and being aware of yourself, because you got to know when your spirit is off or your heart is off. You got to know your triggers and different things of that nature. You got to learn that stuff, because then you start projecting on her everything.
Yeah.
And and as men, we got to take accountability, most likely more times than her. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So that therapy will help you in those areas. And so I second everything Tashawn just said. I second it because it is real. It's real, definitely. And then when you add children into the mix, whew,
Yeah. Yeah.
my Lord, because you're gonna have to apologize to them. And
Yeah.
one last thing before we close out. I learned, man of God, that, and I'm still learning, that our children's first reference of God is going to be through us.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to come to believe in him as a father through their father. Like, seeing how their father was with them is going to make them see how loving God is. Or vice versa. They will see a reference of God by how we exemplify him to our children.
I
And it may
mean,
not even always be accurate, right? It
mhm.
could be a jacked up reference, but they will grow to believe that God is like that through us until they experience his love if we don't heal, or
Man.
if, what I'm saying? Like, they're going to see that, and it could turn them away from God, when in reality, he gave them to us so that we can exemplify his character and his nature to our children, to cause them to believe in him, you
Yeah.
know?
And
Um,
you
yeah,
can you can flip that, bro. Imagine
yeah,
yourself as God and your child as you. Like I I do it all the time. I look at mine and I'm just like, it's crazy that despite all the trouble that you give me, how much I still love you, right?
yeah,
And look at it's crazy, like all the trouble
uh-huh,
you put me through, and I'm still gonna go above and beyond for you. The same way God is looking at us, right? And,
mm.
and I do it all the time. I'm like, yo, God, nah, I understand. Like, you
Yeah,
know
I
what I
get it. I
mean?
get it. I
Yeah,
get it now,
yeah,
man. It's a beautiful thing. It's definitely a beautiful thing, man, that
yeah.
love relationship. Listen, man, this is an ongoing conversation. I know you guys who are watching and viewing this right now, y'all probably, even though we're about to end the episode, this is an ongoing conversation because
Mm-hmm.
I'm 32, Tashawn's 30. So the challenges and the different things that we're gonna go through is gonna persist until we, meet him in the sky. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But nevertheless, we want to just encourage those out there, man. Be encouraged. Whatever challenges you're facing right now, God is with you. He's not just with you, he's in you. And he wants to do life with you. There's somebody out there right now, you're watching this, and you're wondering if God is with you. God is with you. You're wondering if he wants to do life with you. I'm here to tell you, I believe Tashawn would agree. Jesus
Mm-hmm.
wants to do life with you. Not just, he don't want you to just do life for him, but he wants to do life with you as well. And so everything in your life, he's concerned about. Everything in your life, he cares about. Even how you are as a husband and how you are as a father. Jesus cares about it. And so learn to depend on him more and less upon yourself. Don't put all of your trust in your own strength. Allow God to empower you to be the best husband and to be the best father that represents him. And so, y'all, this is the Jesus Boy Podcast. We're ending it. God bless you, man of God, for coming on. I appreciate the
No problem,
conversation.
man.
This was such a blessing. Listen, check out the next episode. We're going to put this out. Stay tuned. Like, share, and subscribe. This is the Juice Boy Podcast. We out. One.
Love.
This